Hello and welcome back to another episode of SPARTIE Cast slash the Swati and Robby show, as it seems to be becoming. And I'm very excited that we're getting another opportunity to chat here, Swati. Hello.
Hello, hello. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so we decided to do a follow-up after last week's podcast because first of all, we had some audio issues, but also there was more to get into in the world of avatars. And maybe we can make this a habit, though the summer travels might get in the way of using nice
Hmm.
microphones like we have here. But I think it's great for us to chomp on the latest and greatest in avatar related research together on this forum. So hopefully we can keep this going. So, Dr. Pandita, tell me,
Hmm.
what's new in the world of avatars?
There's so many new things. Actually, a quick side note here. Dr. Cow and I at the Virtual Features Lab were working on a scoping review on avatars. And this is very much related to avatars and color. But what I noticed in doing so is the huge uptick in avatar related research just in the past couple of years.
Ooh,
I did not realize yet we're averaging at least like 1,000 publications in the avatar space just in terms of
when you say
avatar.
averaging, do you mean annually?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that insane? I'll have to
So
send
many
you the
people are
little
going to cite
chart.
my book. I
Yes.
hope.
Oh, it is well positioned. I was surprised too. I was like, wow, as an avatar researcher, sometimes we kind of feel like, oh, maybe this is too niche and just do a scoping review and look at Web of Science. I don't know if that's a plug, but
Wow.
their metric was pretty cool. Just to see the uptick. But yeah, like a lot of people are interested in avatars. And I guess that kind of makes sense. Last week I talked about what was interesting to kind of see in the industry space is Netflix had acquired Ready Player Me. Um,
About 5 months
and
ago, right? 6 months ago?
yeah, I want to say in December.
hmm
So that kind of surprised me, especially since I was I used in my Ready Player Me avatar in my dissertation actually to kind of show like, hey, we can make avatars that look like us and that are pretty like portable to different types of virtual environments.
Oh, we
And I
loved
guess
Ready Player Me. It was the
yeah.
best. Yeah.
Um,
But
and
now,
But now, well, I'm kind of curious, like, um, what do you think Netflix might use the Ready Player Me avatars for?
well, funny you should ask. I just Google slash AI searched what is Netflix doing with Ready Player Me because there aren't any news articles on it in the last
Yeah.
since December. Um, and so AI speculates a little bit here, but
Hmm.
it's nothing unintuitive to me. They hope to build and integrate custom 3D avatars across this growing collection of television and mobile video games. Okay, and I guess that
Hmm.
that doesn't take less than 6 months to do the integration. Wow, it was only a 20-person Ready Player Me development team who
Mm.
who joined Netflix. I'm guessing it would be hard for me to reach out to any of them. They're probably very busy at the moment, but I'm very curious. So yeah, I mean the game space seems to be very mobile game oriented for Netflix, which
Yeah.
isn't the best place for hyper realistic 3D avatars unless it's a signal, and I have no insider information here,
Hmm.
that Netflix is going to move into the immersive space.
Oh. I mean, that seems pretty interesting. I assumed that they would mainly be focusing on avatars and games and maybe allowing people to customize avatars um to use for their new kind of game interaction. I've only seen it. I don't actually know if it's supposed to be like mobile based, because it shows up on my TV too. So I was like, do they have like some novel like TV avatar type interactions they might be cooking up? But um, I guess the easiest approach might be if they kind of use a Bitmoji approach to avatars, to kind of customize profiles. That might be fun. Maybe even use it as like a me situation, like Nintendo's me.
Yeah, I like that idea. Um, and are you referring like in what regard? Like you controlling the me in the game, or they used to have the me plaza where you could send your little
Hmm.
avatar off in a quasi autonomous fashion to interact with others.
Ooh, I actually did not think as far. So I guess kind of going back, I was thinking about more so as a static avatar, so not necessarily a dynamic one. But how cool would
But they
it
wouldn't
be?
really need Ready Player Me for static avatars, right? Like
That's true.
they could build something simpler themselves. Let's imagine they've got
Hmm.
a massive budget for this, which they maybe
Hmm.
did
Hmm.
6 months ago and don't now. Who knows? You know, the stock market fluctuates, as do other whims. But like, what would you do? You're the Netflix CEO. I'm at a loss for
Hmm.
their name, but um, you've got $1 billion to throw at something related to avatars. I have thoughts, but I want
Mm.
you to guess first.
Oh man. I'm not sure if I'm good at being creative on the spot. I'm very much like go in my
Ah,
corner and think and think and think.
sure. Well,
Have
let's
some
connect
doodling.
it to your scoping review. All
Hmm.
these new articles on avatars. What's new in the research that you're seeing that might be relevant, might relate to this?
I can't necessarily say this is relatable, but one of the papers that I did come across, and I didn't get to read it, so this is literally just surface level judgment. But they were looking at um, this was just virtual limb embodiment. So all that means is like all I can see are my hands. So very first person perspective. And they used regular human hands and then they used crab, like either crab or lobster hands. So I would imagine that maybe some in the games, if there's some kind of movement tracking involved, which could definitely be possible with a lot of the smart TV setups that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm
Hmm.
actually I'm kind of going like backwards a bit and thinking about like Microsoft's Connect, right? Maybe there's some kind of movement tracking involved in making the games more embodied with these virtual avatars. I do also though, and see, I'm riffing off your idea, but I do like the idea of kind of having a plaza of avatars and then kind of in that way creating some type of social world where people are sharing like the shows that they're watching. Like imagine if you had almost like an Animal Crossing version of Netflix, but in this case you're like, "Oh my God, I saw this show and I loved it," and you kind of like hand deliver it to your friend's mailbox. So like then Netflix becomes a platform that people go to socialize. Maybe there could be watch parties.
Watch parties. Okay, yeah, this is aligning a little more with what I was about to say, but go on.
I mean, that's kind of that's kind of where my creative juices are at right now. So I'm gonna
Okay.
I'm gonna hand
Okay,
the
okay,
mic
let me
over to
riff on
you.
that a little bit.
Yeah,
So watch parties makes a lot of sense. Netflix is very unlikely to be getting into the hardware business anytime
sure.
soon. So then they've got two good options from my perspective, the Vision Pro and
Hmm.
the Meta Quest series. And I mean, maybe they could make it headset agnostic, but you kind of have to choose Apple or not Apple, like in many computing
Hmm.
environments. Um, I'm not sure. I mean, Apple, of course, has Apple TV and has tried to make the viewing experience in the Vision Pro excellent
Mm-hmm.
for Apple TV, right? You
Mm-hmm.
sit there and you've got the big screen and it's high def um and so now you're doing that with your friends. The Vision Pro though is oriented toward MR
Mm-hmm.
versus versus VR for the Quest, though it has MR as well. But now, I don't know, like $1 billion, what if I'm seeing your avatar on
Mm-hmm.
overlaid on your body in the physical couch where you're
Mm-hmm.
sitting, and then I also see a friend who's not with us sitting on the couch via avatar as well. And I see the couch, I see everything around me. I also see the screen. So we're watching together. That's the viewing party element with lobster
Mm-hmm.
claws or not to hand each other things. So that's one approach. Though the other one, remember
Yeah.
Bandersnatch?
Hmm. Jog my memory,
Bandersnatch
please.
it was an episode of Black Mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, maybe many people don't recall it, but I have taught quite a few classes on Black Mirror and the ways that the themes in that show relate to themes in communication research and
Mm-hmm.
theories of avatar and AI interaction. Um, Bandersnatch is a choose your own adventure Netflix show.
Oh, okay.
And the interaction was very limited. Every 2 minutes ish, you would select with your TV remote whether you wanted the protagonist to do this or that. And occasionally you would lead him to certain death, other times
Mm-hmm.
to insanity, but you could get through all of the storylines. Um, I wonder if Netflix is gonna veer a little more into that like interactive storytelling
Content.
realm
Mm-hmm.
via Avatar and use Ready Player Me as a conduit for self-representation in those spaces. Um, and so it's not gaming, it's not pure lean back media.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like lean middle.
Lean middle.
Yes, yes. The Ozempic of media. Get it? Lean middle.
Lean middle. Oh my goodness. That should be a podcast name.
Oh gosh. I might put that in the description here. Um, but I don't know. Just speculation here. No insider information. Um, But it's a bummer that we don't have Ready Player Me avatars as
I know.
readily accessible when we're developing for the virtual environments that we build in Unity, that we're putting into
Mm-hmm.
VRChat or other virtual spaces that are highly accessible to people. And so we're sad. We're sad, Ready Player Me and Netflix, about what you're doing here. And yet we're optimistic that it's going to be
We
great when you
are.
announce something.
For sure. Actually, just to go back to your first idea for a minute, are you kind of thinking like beyond meat space, where you kind of have like a cool little movie theater auditorium that all of your friends meet? Because that would be pretty fun too.
Yeah, yeah. Swati is referring here to a virtual world that we built called Beyond Meat Space, spelt with two E's. And it was part of this research project funded by the NSF to study the future of remote work. And in particular, think about playful elements of work and how that might increase productivity and engagement for work teams. Our project looked specifically at game developers, but we had an eye toward broadening integration with other fields, and we've used the space in my own classes. And indeed, we've got this big auditorium uh, as well as breakout spaces. The auditorium looks like a coliseum. We've got
Mm-hmm.
a UFO area and igloos and a beach, and you can just easily move around in the space with up to 50 people or split up into subgroups and other use other tools for subgrouping and making yourself invisible. So yeah, we were playing with this idea of virtual meetings, large and small group. And yeah, you could think of a watch party as a small or even medium or large group
Mm-hmm.
consumption platform. I mean, Fortnite pioneered this idea of co-watching and interactive media experience with concerts. I know
Mm-hmm.
Eminem, Ariana Grande. Who was the first one? It was a more contemporary rapper, so don't, I don't.
Wow.
Who was it? You tell me.
You are more in the know than I am. I'm more in the, and even I hesitate to say this because I might not quite
Travis
remember.
Scott.
Oh, that's right.
Travis Scott in 2020. And these things like break their servers. So many people jump
hmm
in, and it's not just like you're watching this artist on stage. There's all these fun mechanics where you're flying around and you're shooting little enemies. Oh, Eminem, Billie Eilish, and Snoop Dogg did a few in
Wow.
24, 25. They haven't done one in a while. I'm surprised by that. Maybe they're, and Fortnite, I mean, if we can talk about Fortnite for a minute, did you ever play,
Let's
Swati?
go. I did not. I just know a couple of the dance moves. Robbie, you are so young culturally. You're so in the
Oh,
know.
oh, flattery will get you everywhere, my much younger
It's the
colleague and
truth.
friend. I do happen to have a 16-year-old as my oldest child,
Mm.
and so we started off playing Fortnite together. Then he abandoned me to go play
Oh
other cool
no.
games with his friends, but I still play occasionally, though it's been a little while, with a faculty friend of mine and research
Awesome.
collaborator. So I've stayed in the know, but also I pay attention to Fortnite because Epic Games has been particularly early adoptive in
hmm
many of their approaches. They likened themselves to the metaverse when everyone was misusing that term, though I don't really consider them to be because they're too much of a closed system. But
hmm
they do represent elements of the metaverse that are really important, such
hmm
as even though they're not cross-platform play, they are cross IP play, right? Since the beginning, they had Star
Mm.
Wars and South Park and other so many Marvel, etc. And so they're really good at creating these relationships with other companies and
hmm
entertainment companies in particular. And so and that was very, very metaversy of them. You could imagine Netflix, of course, is a company that works with many different entertainment
hmm
organizations and is good at managing those contracts. So maybe Netflix comes out and tries to, maybe it's live performances consumed via Netflix
Oh.
and Ready Player Me avatars.
Okay, I can contribute a little bit more here because that was the
Go.
segue. Um, so during the pandemic, a lot of concerts were canceled, right? And it was interesting to see a lot of Korean artists pivoted towards the virtual space. There were so many immersive based not conferences, but concerts happening.
Hmm.
One that I remember is essentially, they had the stage set up. I didn't get to go, but I did get to, see news articles and whatnot. And then they were able to incorporate the audience. Everyone like had their webcams on, and then they were in like a stage room with almost like a immersive, I'll say like maybe 180-degree like screen display, and you see all of the fans in the background and the artist kind of singing along, and then visuals and animations to go with that. And so it provided like new experiences for the fans to engage with their artists in a different way. So I think what has been nice is to kind of see like also that relational aspect too. Of course, we like when we talk about any type of music artistry or artistry in general slash media, like we do have to be careful of like parasocial relationships, right? Like also, when thinking about people engaging with the social aspects of avatar representation, even in watch parties or whatnot. Like I think we kind of going back to Netflix. How do we kind of manage social inclusion and exclusion, but also how do we manage like they're probably going to be people that meet each other for the first time in this like Netflix, virtual world of sorts,
Yeah.
and the relationships that build there. So there's so many exciting um, directions, and it is nice to kind of see how media in general is pioneering that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm taking some notes here because I
Hmm.
realize might as well write the episode description while we're talking about things.
Love that.
And yeah, I think this is and I realize this is going to be a segue into something that you can speak on very expertly, the world of VTubers and
Mm,
avatar mediated entertainment in that realm. Of course, it's one
hmm
entertainer and all of the fans are mostly disembodied, I would say. But is there a
hmm
parallel that you can see here between that type of form of entertainment and this like larger concert format with people represented via avatar on either side of the camera?
I mean, for sure, right? So, maybe if we take a step back to COM 101, kind of like a broadcasting model of communication, a lot of VTubers are using that kind of setup. Um, I think Twitch is still pretty predominant, but Twitch and YouTube, um, in terms of VTuber and live streaming and whatnot, and then kind of interact. But the difference here would be that at least right now, the setups, especially with the live stream setups, the audience is mostly interacting through text, right? So in a way, I think that's good because content moderation is a huge, huge, huge problem. And a lot of these VTubers need, and streamers in general, right? They have these content moderation teams to kind of, or bots to keep things in check. Um, but I do think it also affords so much creativity and expression. A lot of people wouldn't be VTubers if they weren't allowed to kind of protect their anonymity and in certain cases protect their privacy. So it allows for a lot more people to engage. So that's pretty awesome from a social perspective. But to think about how that might affect watch parties, hmm, I kind of see maybe in some cases, if you think of a watch party that's open to everyone, um, you can think of it as like I know that book clubs are becoming popular again, right? So that people kind of feel like they're part of a community. Actually, one of my good friends goes to a book club and then they watch a movie of that book after they finish discussing it. So I'd imagine like also a lot of movie aficionados or people that like I love to watch a good drama series. Oh my goodness. Can have a place to like come together and be able to talk and engage. Um, but
Ah.
yeah, go.
So that this is an interesting mixture of modalities. I didn't
Yes.
I hadn't heard that book clubs are coming back. I always assumed they were under the surface, um, just because I live in suburbia and you hear about them. But I'm sure they're everywhere. But then the idea that books are a conduit to social conversation, the
hmm
premise of a book club, but then also a conduit to other media forms of this similar narrative, or derivative stories, and then using avatars, an interactive medium, as a tool for facilitating conversations about that narrative space,
hmm
across all the modalities. That makes a lot of sense. So then, like the Netflix movie club or the Netflix club,
How cute.
you join via avatar.
hmm
If anyone from Netflix is listening to this, I'm I imagine we're not very inventive here, right? Like you've probably thought of all of these things and then you did a cost benefit analysis and you're probably doing none of them. But I think this is a kind of a fun idea that transcends media as a whole and is more of a human phenomenon in a way, despite, it relying on the inclusion of avatars in the space.
I mean, one, it provides meaningful connection too, on many different levels. And then two, another thing that my work looks at is this idea of how can we get more people involved in interacting with one another, right? How can we have more social connection? How can we communicate more with one another? Because I think, you know, us as academics, like we are trained to be well, in communication, we are trained to communicate effectively and understand the weight of our words. With that being said, I think sometimes when you get so good at something, it's hard to remember how difficult it can be. So, especially working with individuals that have social anxiety, and especially with the polarization of the internet, a lot of people are hesitant to even interact with people that they are close with. So sometimes just having this kind of safety net of having an avatar allows me to monitor myself less and really focus on the communication of the meaning of my message. So right now, like we're making eye contact with one another and whatnot, but if I'm like looking this way or whatnot throughout the whole podcast, you might be like, what is she doing?
That reminds me, I'm
Um,
going to move my video screen over here in front of my little hangy camera. So if I look at myself then and you, it looks like I'm looking at the camera.
Perfect.
Yes.
Amazing hack.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like intention is important here because it's not to say that people that are looking away are not paying attention, right? Like
Mhm.
I might have spectacular auditory working memory, right? So that might be a little bit false, but we compensate by taking lots of notes. But we don't know how much effort people put into even simple social skills. And I think avatars can kind of help with that, help people that really do put a lot of effort into trying to attend to their communication partner, as well as monitoring their own bodily appearance and signals and whatnot. So I do think avatars not only allow for meaningful connection with the communicative partner, but also meaningful connection with oneself.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm writing a sentence here that could just as
Hmm.
easily go into an academic paper. Um, Avatars may serve as an enhanced means of bringing um, people together in a time of increased social anxiety and political polarization by reducing the kind of like I don't know, the harrowing. That's not the best
Knee-jerk
adjective.
reaction?
Yeah, um, cues that trigger I don't know social distance. Like and there are a variety of those, but we're living in this post-pandemic world. I see my teenagers have a lot of
Hmm.
trouble engaging with other socially adults
Hmm.
for whatever reason. And it's not just that, it's also um, the lack of practice that we have in
Yeah.
face-to-face social interaction because we spend more time socializing online for better and worse.
Hmm.
And I don't jump on the same bandwagon of I shouldn't call it a bandwagon. I don't fully buy the social media is evil argument. I also don't
Hmm.
absolve it of any harms in society. I just don't think we should be overly reactive or
Hmm.
panicky, morally or otherwise. But anyway, avatars, I've seen it in my classes. My students who have more social anxiety, who never talk when I meet them in person in a classroom
Hmm.
because they just don't feel comfortable speaking up, but they're
Hmm.
constantly talking when we're in VR together and they're mediated
Hmm.
by avatar. Like that is a real phenomenon. And the research supports this as well. And so maybe let's just put socially responsible, caring words in Netflix's mouth. Their goal is to bring us all together,
There
and
we go.
stories bring us together, right? And now avatars might
Hmm.
even more so around the stories.
And that might help the stories that we tell about ourselves, right? Oh, I'm so socially awkward, but actually, wait, my avatar interaction's not as much. Um, Even in you sharing that story about your students, Robbie, I was just thinking of timing. So, sometimes figuring out when to take turns, those pauses between dialogue and whatnot, and when to kind of say, like, oh, like now is my time to speak. That can be really difficult. And so when you're in an avatar space, you can also have a little bit more focus on yourself. That's one thing. But then also the interaction affordances, right? I'm gonna
Hmm.
go back to Beyond Meat Space again
Hmm.
because there, and there are
I'll put a
other
link
virtual
to it in
spaces too.
I'll put a link to it in
Yeah.
the show notes here as well, but keep going.
Awesome. You can raise your hand, you can react, and people will see, like, oh, okay, this person wants to say something. So let me give them a turn, right? Some people are not as good as just like putting their voice out there, but their avatar can help them get that turn. Um, and then you also have like the fun ways in which you can express your personality. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember we had like some fun interactions in Beyond Meat Space where there was like archery and other like cool gadgets or whatnot.
So many gadgets. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, I mean, do you want to keep going? I mean, like the ability, as you said, the affordances of the interaction space are boundless in so many ways, and certainly they augment our interactions, or they can if you design them well, in
Mm-hmm.
ways that reduce social anxiety. It's not just that you're mediated and you have that layer of
Mm-hmm.
kind of protection against social anxiety, but um,
Mm-hmm.
we can do other things. We call them fidgets in addition to
Love
gadgets,
that.
and we can
Mm-hmm.
make them invisible so they're not too distracting to other people, but then they allow you to like burn some of that cognitive energy while staying engaged in the conversation in front of you. So yeah, maybe Netflix wants to make lean back media more active in a
Mm-hmm.
playful way. Make it a
Mm-hmm.
little more lean middle.
Lean middle. The one thing I will add to that too, um, and you mentioning playful, right, is avatar interactions can allow for playful interactions, and you get to see another side of the people that you're interacting with.
Hmm.
Um, Potentially, I don't necessarily want to go down the rabbit hole of authenticity, but it allows you to see a person in multiple contexts with greater ease. And for some of us that have more relational brains that can kind of see the other side of a person, it allows other things to stick better and to communicate with others better. So yeah, just a plug for more playful interaction. Um, is
Yeah.
is where I'm at.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, intuitively, I've always tried to do that in my classes, make them playful. I ride a skateboard when I'm in person. I do goofy rap songs about nerdy subjects. I want students to have fun because I think they
Hmm.
learn more, and I generally get that feedback. Occasionally, someone is like, Robbie's not serious enough, but normally students are like, this was fun, and I learned things. So if we can systematize that into the process of consuming stories that
Hmm.
Netflix provides, then people will enjoy them more. Now, if we can also do that for education and
Would be
medical
awesome.
fields and other aspects of well-being, then maybe we can all win.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so enough about Netflix.
Hmm.
What else is new with avatars? Let's take on one more subject for today's episode of the Avatar Show. I've decided that should be the new subname of this, the new dimension of SPARTIE Cast here. Um, so
New
yeah, what
dimension.
else is going on with Avatar, Swati?
Well, I'm kind of wondering what avatars people are using right now. Um, this is more of a personal research question I need to go back into. But even just a couple of years ago, I used just Unity's multi-purpose avatar creator. I
Hmm.
was wondering, um, what type of avatars is your lab using? Um, just out of curiosity. So not necessarily in the news of or in the realm of avatar news per se, but where else can we find avatars?
Yeah, let's bring it back to the lab and to the academic side of things. Um, I feel in some ways a little bit sad about our ability to discuss innovative avatar related technologies here because
Mm-hmm.
um, we haven't really pushed it far in terms of digitally mediated avatars in the past few years when we think of avatars as mediated representations of their users. That
Mm-hmm.
said, the exciting area of avatar development that I've been thinking about recently, of course, relates to AI and
Yep.
this burgeoning technology, LLMs in particular. So maybe less embodied avatars and
Mm-hmm.
more um, theoretical avatars driven by AI that allow people to represent themselves. I'm sorry if we like some of this stuff. I talk about this stuff all the time. So I don't know. Did we talk about this in the last episode? Maybe,
I
maybe not.
don't think so. We mostly focused on avatar color and then what has been done in that space. And then I didn't do as great of a job with explaining color theory, so I hope the artists don't like come at me.
Oh yeah,
Um,
let's get back to that. Certainly before the episode ends, I'll finish my train of thought here.
for sure.
So the area of avatars I'm most excited about in the lab at the moment, and it's part of the SPARTIE Lab summer project, is to think about AI-vatars. And
Okay.
judging from your face, it's it's not the most disgusting of portmanteaus, but it's a bit of a stretch. But the basic idea is we can customize LLMs to
Hmm.
act out certain characteristics of personas, of domain expertise, of um, some fictional story, some celebrity. We can make
Hmm.
AI pretend to be someone. And I've seen a lot of this in the research, and it's pretty cool, pretty easy. What I haven't seen much of yet is the idea of making AI act as ourselves. The biggest
Okay.
area of development is in the legacy space for
Hmm.
people who pass away, and then we try to represent them via virtual agent. And we, of
Hmm.
course, those companies that are offering the service are using LLMs. The more data you have about a person, the more accurately you can try to represent them. As we know, again, back to Black Mirror from that and many other science fiction depictions of this scenario, it's never sufficient, right? It never replaces
Hmm.
the individual, especially someone you've lost, and it might harm the grieving process. There's interesting research on that. But what I'm interested in is less about legacy and more about right now. If I can make an
Yeah.
AI avatar to represent me and then help me do things, be my external brain, help
Hmm.
me make decisions or take notes for me in meetings or be my like personal teaching assistant or learning assistant. Do I
Hmm.
learn more because I
Hmm.
perceive it as me? And
Hmm.
maybe it
Hmm.
does a better job because it's representing me. Oh, that would be an interesting two by two. We make some people perceive
Wow.
the AI is customized to be them, but we don't actually customize it to be them.
Wait, this is
And
amazing.
and then some people we don't make them perceive it to be them, but we make it customized on them, and then we flip the other two. So same, same, or different, different. Um, that would be a fun study now that I articulate it this way. But the basic and what I found in my class, where I had students build an AI avatar in this regard, was that they liked it a lot. I haven't done the
Hmm.
quantitative analysis, but qualitatively, they said, "Oh, this was
Hmm.
a great learning tool. I was really impressed how it helped me remember things," which, is generic feedback. But then they also said, I was kind of freaked out by how well it captured what I was going to say in response to the reading before I actually said it. Right. And so,
Wow.
who knows exactly what's happening there, if it's the perception or the actual change in the way that it behaved. But regardless, I think we're onto something notable and potentially cutting edge here, right, at the
Hmm.
intersection of AI and avatars.
I actually want to comment on that because a lot of cool concepts came up in hearing about your proposed study. I mean, one thing is that the AI avatars kind of sound like digital twins. So essentially, for the listeners, a digital twin is a representation of a dynamic system. So I have a neuroscience background, and the easiest way to kind of explain that is a lot of clinicians or medical practitioners benefit from having a digital twin of the brain, especially in the context of epilepsy. So, kind of seeing how certain areas of the brain are affected. And I won't go too much into the detail, but obviously, like this takes in not only static structural data of the brain, but also dynamic, like EEG type of data. And being able to see these live representations can be pretty helpful in diagnosis and whatnot. So what Robby is kind of explaining reminded me of like, oh, well, I'm making a digital twin of myself and certain aspects of my mind that are quite patterned, right? The human brain does like patterns and efficiency. Um, but with that being said, like Robby, that also reminded me of your paper that talked a bit about cognitive fluency, right? Because if the AI avatar is able to, you know, mimic my thinking, mimic kind of the way in which I articulate things, it's easier for me to process, right? And the second thing is kind of in line with that cognitive fluency is the self-relevance aspect. You know, there's so many factors of our speech that it's hard for us to be objective about our own speech, but oftentimes we have certain behavioral characteristics. Maybe some of us, voice characteristics. Some of us have like a different tone. Some of us use different types of vocabulary. Oh, this sounds
Some of
like
us talk with our
XYZ.
hands.
Love talking with our hands, right? And that all helps in processing language. So I want to see this study be done. I might want to help out with the study.
Join
Let's
us.
talk offline.
Yeah, no, I'm literally gonna add you to our Sparty summer project list right now.
Awesome,
We're
awesome.
just getting this off the ground. I owe my lab an email on this. And I'm glad you find it interesting. And oh, I had a thought I was going to share. Well,
Hmm.
it'll come to me in a moment. But oh, digital twins. I just wanted to
Yes.
say, as I was writing my book, Avatars, what they are and why they matter, one of the final chapters looks at technologies that are related to avatars.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I did a quick but deepish dive into the history of digital twins because I realized
Hmm.
these are similar to my like articulation of this AI-vatars concept, but they're not exactly the same. And
Hmm.
do you know in what field digital twins originally were kind of manifested? I'm not sure if the term was coined there, but
Hmm.
can you take a guess? Neuroscience is a close second, I think, or like
A close second.
in like
Darn.
the health organ body digital twin side is
Maybe cardiac? Heart?
it's not biological.
Wait, it's not biological. Okay. Everything that I'm, even environmental, I'm like, that's biological.
Well, fair.
Oh,
It's all right, maybe not biological, but it can be ecological.
it can be
So there
ecological.
might be biology embedded in it, but you wouldn't
Hmm.
immediately associate this field with um, biology. It's an interesting convergence in some ways. This field also often comes up in
Hmm.
discussions of virtual reality. People who study virtual reality don't just
Hmm.
come at it from a psychological perspective. This field often uses VR. You want to take a guess?
Conservation? I'm
No.
like, am I hedging around it?
I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a clue. We're building toward it.
Build construction,
Oh, getting so much closer.
engineering.
Uh, kind of in the area. Who built the metaverse? Sorry, who built the Matrix? Do you remember?
I do not remember. Oh
Is
no.
they called him the architect. It's
Okay.
architecture.
Architecture. Yes, yes, that
Architecture
makes
and
sense.
construction, right? All,
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
related from the building's perspective, from thinking through like, all right, I've got a
That makes
building with
sense.
these
Yes.
systems of
Hmm.
electricity and internet and
Hmm.
sensors and
And
security and
materials. Hmm.
humans moving around, right? There's plants and trees involved, so it's not exactly non-biological. Maybe not the
Hmm.
best of clues, but yeah, I think that was one of the earliest, if not the earliest, uses of this idea that we can digitally recreate
Hmm.
something that's happening out in the physical world and use that digital representation as a way to learn more about it. You can apply that
Hmm.
to humans, to organs. In this case, the AI-vatars. Um, Moniker, I think, applies well to just personality and,
Mm.
psychology of a human, because normally when you control an avatar, it's you behind the avatar. If we think of an avatar as a mediated representation of a person for dynamic interactions. And so,
Hmm.
so if AI is helping you do that, then it's like, what would you be doing? Maybe someone doesn't even know that it's not you behind the AI avatar when they're interacting with it, which is, very much. I just saw an article today, a headline about what executives are doing with their digital twins.
Ooh.
Did you watch the or listen to the podcast called Shell Game?
I did not.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a journalist,
Hmm.
Jesse Sandelstorm. I don't want to get his name wrong. Digitally twinned his voice and to an extent, his himself and used it to talk to telemarketers. This was a few years
Wait,
ago. It's great. It
this
was
is
very creative.
amazing.
That was season one. Season two, he tried to make an all AI or mostly AI driven company, which at the time was a relatively new thing. Now, of course, this is happening more frequently. But yeah, so that's AI avatars. Back to color theory, though, for a complete left turn.
I was gonna say I'm happy to make that the beginning of the next podcast episode, but I'll be quick. I do want to say that obviously color theory is taught in a lot of art schools, and for good reason. There are a lot of known pairings that work together, and there is a lot of science that goes behind it, but I would say in terms of a lot of observation, I can't necessarily say I know what level of detailed analysis has happened, but people are taught a good sense of what colors go together, what colors are complementary, and you have to really develop an eye for that. So I want to, say that it is a skill, but it hasn't necessarily been translated into the science space just yet. Color science is, and especially the psychology of color,
Can we
is
pause for one sec
mhm.
as you're getting into the psychology of color? Can you remind me, like, how did we get to the subject initially last time?
So I was talking about one of my projects, which is a scoping review on avatars and the color used for
Oh, I
colors
see.
used to
Yeah,
represent
yeah, I
avatars.
got you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So a quick thing there, sometimes certain colors we associate um, with a certain meaning, but other times unconsciously, knowing that we are embodied in a certain color, like red, and the context is competition, and maybe the competition is like, how quickly can I finish this task? People embodied in a red avatar are hypothesized to complete that task faster, maybe than those in a blue avatar or a gray avatar, the latter, which is more neutral. So there are these cool color effects that can affect our psychology, both usually at a more unconscious level. And that kind of mechanism we do see in color theory, right? There are like colors that are known to be relaxing. There are colors that are known to be more vibrant and whatnot. And one of the main theories that's still kind of in its early stages is color and context theory. So these researchers are really starting to look at like what do we mean by color? How are we measuring these types of contexts? What kind of effects are we seeing? So the field is moving towards that. And then what our work is looking at is okay, we use a lot of different colors in avatar spaces, in virtual environments. We do use certain color theory principles more from the design side, but there's little to no justification outside of we know that this should give a certain effect. We don't really know the details or the nuance. So that's how we got into to color
Hmm.
last time.
Interesting. Okay, so the psychology of color theory is emerging, and I can think of one color perception related avatar study in which participants who used VR and saw the world as if they were colorblind
Mm.
later were more likely to, I think, donate or help someone who was colorblind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's totally unrelated to color theory, I
It,
think,
it's
but
it's a perspective taking study though, so that's pretty exciting. I have not come across that study, but I'd be more
it's
than
great.
happy
I
to.
believe it's Grace on and
Oh,
colleagues.
amazing.
Yes.
Awesome.
Easy to find. She's a prolific avatars researcher. Yeah. So I don't know how long we've been going, but it's
We've
probably
we've been going.
a
This might be
good.
your longest episode yet, Robbie.
Oh wow, excellent. And it's been action packed and full of
Yes, it has.
fun info here. So Swati, thank you so much for another excellent conversation and the beginning of what let's call it the Avatars show, sub SPARTIE Cast or something, and keep it going.
Sounds good.
All right, and please remember to dislike, unsubscribe, and send us hate mail, or the opposite. Thanks, everyone. Bye.